Bill Belichick does not have a head coaching job in the NFL. Neither does Jimmy Johnson. So it makes sense that they would hang out together in South Florida, and they did hang out together, and they had conversations about what went wrong during the interview process. And apparently, Bill Belichick also was hanging out with Bill Parcells. He hung out with Nick Saban. So he's making the rounds. He's enjoying his time. But it was Jimmy Johnson, the Hall of Fame coach, the former Dolphins and Cowboys coach, who was on the Joe Rose show recently, and he talked about his interactions with Belichick and what went on during the coaching interview process.
Bill and his girlfriend, and it's funny you say this, he just left the house about 4 days ago. He came down, spent a couple of days with me, and we talked about a bunch of stuff. And, he agreed with me. He had actually been with Parcells and Saban a couple of days earlier. And some of these owners are a little bit afraid of him, and the general managers and the personnel people in the organization, they're really afraid of him because they think that if he comes in, they're going to lose their job.
Correct.
And so a lot of people working against him as far as getting a job. I was shocked that he didn't get some more opportunities, and he'll get an opportunity next year, but Bill is upfront about it. He said, hey, I don't need to be in charge of everything. It's just that's what happened up in New England. It kind of fell into that deal, and it's not necessarily that he pushed for it. It's just that that's what happened because he was there for so long. But he's more than willing to give up some of the personnel decisions to the general manager and the personnel people.
So Belichick just going out, hanging out on boats, just letting everybody just sort of sit on their decision, and it feels like there's going to be some teams that are going to regret not at least taking it a little bit more seriously. Because I don't even think, did he interview with every opening?
It's not just two, right? Just Atlanta and Washington?
Isn't that weird? Like, wouldn't you want to pick his brain at least in an interview or have a conversation?
I said that like 3 weeks ago when we had this conversation. I think if I'm an owner, all right, and we were one of those teams that didn't take the opportunity to bring in Bill Belichick for an interview, even if, and this, I hope this doesn't sound bad, but even if we had no interest in actually hiring him because of those concerns, I would think that whoever is a part of that front office is negligent because you're wasting an opportunity to have a conversation where you can learn about how the greatest coach in NFL history constructed what is the greatest dynasty we've seen in NFL history, and you don't want to pull anything away from that. It seems a bit odd, and it seems negligent, and it seems like you're not really trying to win Super Bowls and do everything you possibly can if you weren't trying to search out every single possible perspective and answer and data point and way of doing things that you can. So outside of Atlanta and Washington, I think we've got a good idea as to at least what happened in maybe both those cases based on what Jimmy Johnson's saying. You would have to say that it is crazy other organizations wouldn't at least bring him in to talk to him about their vacancy. It might help them figure out who the right guy is for that franchise. It might help them from a structure standpoint within that particular building figure out some things they're doing wrong or like a missing piece here or there. I find it hard to believe you couldn't find some value out of bringing in Bill Belichick. And the last thing I'll say quickly is, a lot of people go down and talk to Jimmy Johnson about various things, kind of consulting or whatever it may be. But a lot of coaches go down and speak with Jimmy Johnson. For starters, he's a great guy, and you'll have a fun time to go fishing and all that. But the other thing is he's the one who really kind of put together like the draft value chart and like understanding when teams call to trade, because teams are called to trade with one another, and they'd be like, man, how you value a first round pick or this or that it might be different than how I view it, right? And so they kind of needed some sort of baseline of comparison, and they kind of have it now. Teams still tweak it and model it different, but they've got their way of looking at it. And he was kind of one of the first people to start talking about doing that. And the last thing I'll say is, he's one of three coaches who've won a national championship in college football and a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Can you guys name the other two?
Pete Carroll.
That's
one. And why am I blanking on the other one? This is pissing me off. Why am I blanking on the other one?
Jimmy Johnson, Pete Carroll.
Oh, yeah, Barry Switzer. That's
there you
right.
go.
Barry Switzer, there you go. Oklahoma.
Could you imagine, like, Brady, you're trying to get better at golf all the time, right?
Yeah.
All right,
yeah, it's kind of obsessive.
yeah.
Although I'm not practicing as much as I should be to actually trying to get better.
You imagine if there was, like, an opportunity for you to, like spend some time, and even if you weren't going to hire him to be your swing coach or to walk you through it, but there would be an opportunity for you to...
Butch Harmon. Butch Harmon was
Yeah.
Tiger Woods swing, all that.
Yeah.
He's working with
I
these
thought
guys.
Tiger Woods.
And imagine being like this. Imagine being so arrogant or aloof to his greatness that you're like, nah, I got it. No, you don't. That's why you're in the market for a swing coach. You're in the market for a head coach. Like, you need something to change. And these teams in the NFL are like, nah. We know more than... No, you don't. Like, that's the part that blows my mind, that there was just 2 opportunities that he interviewed for, and everybody else is like, nah, we're going to go ahead and go in this direction. Not saying that these guys aren't going to work out, but how many coaches get hired and fired every single year or every 2 years, and the greatest of all time is sitting there hanging out on a yacht with Jimmy Johnson in Florida?
Fired.
Yeah.
Let go. Just keep that. Don't leave that piece of information out, though. I mean, you guys are right in what you're saying, but he's one of those coaches that was let go. He's one of those coaches that the team was looking for a new coach because they're in the situation that they were in. And I know the circumstances are different, but...
Do you think Robert Kraft might regret it in a few years?
No, I don't think
so.
he
If they
will.
go off into a tailspin where they're not even competitive for the next 3 or 4 years, you don't think at some point he'll be like, maybe I should have let Bill just finish out, a few more years?
If I'm Robert Kraft, I'm going to keep trying to figure out how to get my franchise back to being competitive, but knowing the reality of ever having a coach that can do what Bill Belichick did for his organization and his franchise is most likely unobtainable.
The way
That's the reality of it. That's just being realistic. He'll never get back to what they were when they had that run with Bill Belichick.
The way it feels like, in talking to Albert Breer and some other stuff that's come out, is that, like, there was no discussion about, hey, what if you bring in somebody to, a personnel expert? Like, what if you bring in somebody like a general manager, somebody like that who could be out there that could make some sense to work with you to try and rebuild this roster? That wasn't even an option.
He was open to it, but he said he was open to it, right?
But the way Albert Breer made it seem is that Robert Kraft was ready to move on. It was over. And it's like...
Oh, okay. All right. I see what you're saying. I thought you were talking about Bill Belichick in his interviews. Like, he's open to not having to do all those duties, correct? That's what he said.
And I don't think he wanted to leave New England, but Robert Kraft wanted him out. He was ready to move on. And then you see these reports about, Mac Jones, and apparently he lost the locker room, and, he was really liked as a rookie, and then things just kind of went sideways.
One quarterback was going into the receiver's room to watch film. Like, it was so much drama playing out with the QBs and the QB room. I mean, listen, I don't pretend to act as though I don't see the greatness and what the potential could be by bringing in a Bill Belichick to your organization.
Yeah, why do you hate Bill Belichick so much?
I don't. I really don't. Why would you say that?
Why?
I don't hate him.
In your heart.
No, I no.
You don't hate him?
I just no, I don't. I just think that you do have to
If you have hate in your heart, let it out.
And let it out.